Jack and I had been friends since our college days. We built Tech Innovate from the ground up, pouring our hearts, souls, and countless sleepless nights into making it the successful tech company it had become. For years, everything seemed perfect. We were a team, a duo that complemented each other's strengths and weaknesses. But all that came crashing down one fateful evening when I stumbled upon some confidential documents that would forever change the course of my life. It was late, and I was alone in the office, going through some financial reports that didn't quite add up. A nagging feeling at the back of my mind told me to dig deeper. As I combed through the files, I came across a series of transactions that were both perplexing and alarming. Money was being funneled out of the company into accounts I didn't recognize. My heart sank as I realized that someone within our ranks was siphoning funds. My immediate thought was to call Jack, but something held me back. Instead, I decided to investigate further on my own. The more I dug, the clearer it became. Jack was orchestrating a scheme to sell the company behind my back. He had been in talks with our competitors, negotiating deals that would leave me with nothing. The shock was overwhelming. This was my best friend, the person I trusted the most in the world. How could he betray me like this? The next day, I confronted Jack in his office. My hands trembled as I held the documents in front of him. "Jack, what the hell is this?" I demanded. He looked up from his desk, his face a mask of feigned innocence. "What are you talking about, Brian?" "These documents." I thrust the papers towards him. "They show you've been stealing from the company and negotiating with our competitors. How could you do this to me? To us?" Jack's expression hardened, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. "Brian, you're being paranoid. These are just routine transactions. You're blowing this out of proportion." "Routine transactions?" I echoed, incredulous. "You're diverting company funds and planning to sell Tech Innovate without my knowledge. How is that routine?" He stood up, leaning across his desk towards me. "You need to calm down, Brian. You're seeing things that aren't there. I would never betray you." But the evidence was irrefutable. I knew what I had seen, and no amount of gaslighting would change that. "I don't believe you, Jack. I've known you for years, but this is unforgivable." Jack's eyes narrowed, and his tone turned icy. "You're making a mistake, Brian. If you continue down this path, you'll regret it." Feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak, I left his office, but the nightmare was far from over. Jack's manipulation extended beyond our friendship. He managed to sway the board of directors, convincing them that I was unstable and unfit to lead. In a matter of days, I was ousted from the company I had helped build from the ground up. I was left with nothing but a sense of profound betrayal and a determination to rise from the ashes. As I packed up my belongings, I couldn't help but reflect on the years of hard work and camaraderie that had been shattered in an instant. Tech Innovate was more than just a company. It was a manifestation of our dreams and aspirations, and now it was gone, stolen by the very person I had trusted the most. But in that moment of despair, a fire ignited within me. Jack might have taken everything, but he couldn't take my knowledge, my skills, or my drive. I vowed to start over, to build something new and even greater. This betrayal would not define me. It would propel me to new heights. I left the office that day with a heavy heart, but a resolute spirit. Jack's treachery had set me on a new path, and I was determined to prove that I could overcome this devastation and emerge stronger than ever. When everything fell apart and I found myself sitting alone in my modest apartment, staring at the skyline of San Diego, the city lights blinked back at me, a stark reminder of my fall from grace. I had nothing left except my experience, my passion, and a burning desire to prove that I could rise again from the ashes of betrayal. Days turned into weeks, and I isolated myself, replaying every moment of my partnership with Jack, trying to understand how I could have been so blind. The betrayal cut deep, and it took me some time to gather the pieces of my shattered confidence. But one evening, as I was sorting through old notebooks filled with ideas and sketches, I stumbled upon a concept I had once been passionate about, but never had the time to develop. It was a moment of clarity. I realized that my expertise and vision were still intact, and I could use them to build something new, something even greater. I decided to call my new venture Phoenix Tech, symbolizing rebirth and resilience. With a renewed sense of purpose, I reached out to a few trusted ex-colleagues who had left Tech Innovate before things went south. To my relief, they were eager to join me on this new journey. Their loyalty and belief in my vision were the first rays of hope in what had been a very dark period. Our resources were limited, and the initial investment came mostly from personal savings and small contributions from friends and family. But we had something more valuable than money, a groundbreaking idea that could revolutionize the tech industry. We began working tirelessly out of a small, rented office space, often pulling all-nighters fueled by enthusiasm and endless cups of coffee. One day, after weeks of preparation, I found myself in a conference room, ready to pitch Phoenix Tech to a group of potential investors. I could feel the weight of the future resting on this presentation. As I spoke about our innovative technology, I noticed one woman in the audience who seemed particularly engaged. After the presentation, she approached me. "Brian Thompson, right? I'm Emily Carter," she said, extending her hand. "Your idea is impressive. I see a lot of potential here." "Thank you, Emily," I replied, shaking her hand with a mixture of relief and excitement. "I'm glad to hear that. We're incredibly passionate about what we're doing, and we believe this can really change the market." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "I'd like to discuss this further. Let's schedule a meeting for tomorrow. I think we can work something out." The following day, Emily and I met in a quieter setting. Over coffee, we discussed the future of Phoenix Tech in more detail. Emily's insights were sharp, and her questions were probing. But by the end of our conversation, she was convinced. "I'm in," she declared. "I'll invest in Phoenix Tech. I believe in your vision, Brian." With Emily's support, both financially and strategically, Phoenix Tech began to gain traction. Our small team was relentless, and the progress we made was nothing short of remarkable. We started to attract attention in the industry, and soon our innovative products were making headlines. One evening, after another long day at the office, I received a call from Emily. "Brian, I just wanted to say how proud I am of what we've accomplished so far. Phoenix Tech is really starting to make waves." "Thanks, Emily. I couldn't have done it without your support," I admitted. "But we still have a long way to go." "True," she agreed. "But remember, you've already achieved so much. Let's keep pushing forward." As we hung up, I felt a renewed sense of determination. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was on the right path. Phoenix Tech wasn't just a company. It was a testament to resilience, a symbol of my refusal to be defined by betrayal. Through countless meetings, pitches, and sleepless nights, Phoenix Tech continued to grow. My team and I worked tirelessly, driven by a shared vision. And with each milestone we achieved, I felt a step closer to vindication. The betrayal by Jack was a painful chapter in my life, but it no longer defined me. Instead, it had become the catalyst for my rebirth, propelling me toward a future filled with possibilities. With Emily's investment and my team's unwavering dedication, Phoenix Tech started to gain significant traction. It was like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes. Our small team, fueled by innovation and a shared vision, began to create ripples in the tech industry. I vividly remember the day we first made headlines. "Brian, have you seen this?" Emily burst into my office, her eyes wide with excitement, as she slapped a tech magazine onto my desk. "We're on the cover." I glanced at the magazine. There it was, our company logo, and beneath it, the headline, "Phoenix Tech, the new era of innovation." "Wow," I murmured, feeling a swell of pride. "We've really done it." Emily grinned. "This is just the beginning, Brian. The market is starting to take notice. and so are the investors. Our breakthrough product, an advanced AI-driven software that could revolutionize data processing, was about to hit the market. The buzz was palpable. Investors were calling, emails were flooding in, and our social media was abuzz with anticipation. We had struck a chord in a market desperate for innovation, and as a result, Phoenix Tech was growing at an exponential rate. "Brian, the board meeting is in 5 minutes," my assistant Laura reminded me one afternoon. These meetings had become a regular part of our schedule as we navigated our rapid growth. In the boardroom, I sat across from Emily, along with our key team members. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. "Our sales projections for the next quarter are off the charts," said Tom, our head of sales, pointing to a graph on the screen. "If we continue at this pace, we'll surpass our initial annual targets within 6 months." "That's incredible," Emily said, her eyes lighting up. "But we need to ensure our infrastructure can handle this growth." "Brian, what are your thoughts?" I leaned forward, my mind racing with possibilities. "We need to scale up our operations, invest in more talent, and expand our facilities. But we must do it strategically. Our innovation is our strength, and we can't afford to lose that edge." The team nodded in agreement, and we spent the next hour outlining a detailed plan to manage our growth without compromising our core values. Meanwhile, across town, Tech Innovate was struggling. Jack's mismanagement was starting to show. Reports of dissatisfied clients and internal turmoil were becoming more frequent. The contrast between our two companies couldn't have been starker. One evening, while I was working late, I received a call from an old client of Tech Innovate. "Brian, it's good to speak with you again," the client said. "I wanted to reach out because we've been very impressed with Phoenix Tech's offerings. We're considering switching our contract to your company." I felt a mix of emotions, satisfaction at our success, but also a twinge of sadness for what Tech Innovate had become. "Thank you for your confidence in us. We'll make sure you receive the best service possible." As our client base grew, the media began to take notice. Articles highlighting Phoenix Tech's innovative approach and rapid growth were everywhere. I was invited to speak at tech conferences, and it was during one such event that the true impact of our work hit me. Standing on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. "Phoenix Tech is built on the belief that innovation can change the world," I said, my voice steady and confident. "We've faced challenges, but our dedication to pushing boundaries and redefining what's possible has brought us here." After the speech, I was approached by several industry leaders, all eager to collaborate. Among them was an old acquaintance, David, who had once been a mentor to Jack and me. "Brian, you've outdone yourself," David said, shaking my hand. "Phoenix Tech is the talk of the industry. I'm proud of what you've achieved." "Thank you, David. It means a lot," I replied, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. As Phoenix Tech continued its upward trajectory, Jack was becoming increasingly desperate. Rumors of his attempts to reclaim relevance circulated, but it was clear that the tide had turned. The market was embracing innovation, and Phoenix Tech was at the forefront. One day, during a team meeting, Emily shared some news that solidified our position. "Our latest product launch has broken all previous records," she announced, her voice filled with pride. "We're officially the market leader." Cheers erupted in the room, and I couldn't help but smile. We had turned betrayal into triumph, and our journey was far from over. Phoenix Tech was a testament to resilience, innovation, and the power of a team united by a common goal. I had just wrapped up a long day at the Phoenix Tech office when Emily rushed into my office, her face etched with concern. "Brian, we need to talk." "Now," she said, shutting the door behind her. "What's going on, Emily?" I asked, setting down the prototype I'd been examining. "We have a mole," she stated bluntly. "Someone infiltrated our team to steal confidential information. I've already identified the culprit." My heart sank. I had been so careful, so meticulous in building Phoenix Tech from the ground up. To think that someone had breached our trust was infuriating. "Who is it?" I demanded. His name is Mark. He joined us about 3 months ago. I found emails and traces of unauthorized access to our servers. He's been sending information directly to Jack, Emily explained, her eyes burning with the same determination I felt. Call a meeting with the senior team. We need to address this immediately, I instructed, feeling a surge of adrenaline. This was more than just corporate espionage. It was a direct assault on everything I had worked to rebuild. An hour later, my core team was assembled in the conference room. Emily laid out the evidence against Mark, who sat there looking increasingly pale. When she finished, I turned to him. "Mark, do you have anything to say for yourself?" He stammered, I was coerced. Jack threatened me. I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," I replied coldly. "You chose to betray us. You're fired, effective immediately, and we will be pursuing legal action. Security will escort you out." As Mark was led away, I addressed the team. "This is a setback, but it's not going to stop us. We need to double down on our security measures and stay vigilant. Jack's desperation is showing, and it's only making us stronger." The very next day, I decided it was time to confront Jack publicly. I called for a press conference, knowing that the media would be eager to hear about the latest developments between Phoenix Tech and Tech Innovate. Standing before a room packed with reporters, I took a deep breath. "Thank you all for coming. I have an important announcement to make. Recently, we discovered that a former employee of Tech Innovate, Mark, was sent to infiltrate Phoenix Tech and steal confidential information on behalf of Jack Reynolds. This is a blatant act of corporate espionage and a desperate attempt by Jack to sabotage our success." The room buzzed with murmurs and flashes of cameras. I continued, "We have concrete evidence of this, and we will be taking legal action. Phoenix Tech will not be intimidated or undermined. We are here to innovate and lead, and no amount of sabotage will deter us from our mission." The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, Jack was facing a storm of negative publicity. His remaining allies began to distance themselves, realizing that aligning with him was a sinking ship. The backlash was swift and brutal. A few days later, Jack called me. His voice was strained, a far cry from the confident tone I once knew. "Brian, we need to talk," he said. "There's nothing to talk about, Jack. You crossed a line, and now you're facing the consequences," I replied, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. "Please, let's meet." "Just once," he pleaded. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small cafe away from prying eyes. Jack looked disheveled, a shadow of his former self. "Brian, I messed up. I let greed and ambition cloud my judgment. I need your help." "You should have thought about that before betraying me," I said, keeping my emotions in check. "You brought this upon yourself." "I know, and I'm sorry. But there's more at stake here. Tech Innovate is on the brink of collapse. If it goes under, hundreds of people will lose their jobs," he said, desperation in his eyes. I sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. "I'll consider my options, but this doesn't absolve you of what you've done. You'll have to face the consequences." As I walked away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. Jack's empire was crumbling, and Phoenix Tech was soaring. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about proving that integrity and resilience could triumph over deceit and betrayal. I knew we had a long road ahead, but with my team by my side, I was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. I sat in my office, the soft hum of the city of San Diego outside my window. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the skyline. Emily walked in, a concerned look on her face. "Brian, you need to see this," she said, handing me a stack of documents. I took them, my eyes quickly scanning the contents. My heart sank. Jack was trying to sell Tech Innovate to a foreign conglomerate. Worse, the sale would compromise sensitive information and patents that I had developed during my time there. This was a direct threat not only to my legacy, but also to the security of countless innovations. "We can't let this happen," I said, determination hardening my voice. Emily nodded. "I've already contacted our legal team. We have a solid case to block the sale based on those patents and technologies. But we need to act fast." The next few days were a whirlwind of legal battles and strategic maneuvers. Our team worked around the clock, gathering evidence and preparing our case. Emily was a powerhouse, coordinating efforts and ensuring we left no stone unturned. Finally, the day of the court hearing arrived. I stood before the judge, my heart pounding in my chest. Jack was there too, looking smug and confident, but I knew we had the upper hand. Your Honor, my lawyer began presenting the evidence. The technologies and patents in question were developed solely by Mr. Brian Thompson before his departure from Tech Innovate. Allowing the sale to proceed would not only be unethical, but also illegal. Jack's lawyer tried to counter, but the evidence was overwhelming. After what felt like an eternity, the judge delivered the verdict. The sale of Tech Innovate to the foreign conglomerate is hereby blocked. Furthermore, given the fraudulent activities presented, the court recommends a thorough investigation into Mr. Jack Reynolds' conduct. Jack's face turned pale. He knew he was cornered. Outside the courtroom, Emily and I exchanged relieved smiles. But I wasn't done yet. I needed to ensure the stability of Tech Innovate and the future of its employees. Emily, I have an idea, I said, my mind racing. The next day, I called an emergency meeting with the Tech Innovate board. They were anxious, knowing the company's future was hanging by a thread. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, I've come to offer a solution. I propose to buy Tech Innovate. This will not only save the company from bankruptcy, but also ensure the security of our employees and innovations. The board members exchanged glances, clearly taken aback. One of them, Mr. Harris, spoke up. Brian, after everything that's happened, why would you want to do this? I took a deep breath. Because Tech Innovate was my dream too. I built it from the ground up alongside Jack. Despite his betrayal, I still believe in its potential. More importantly, I believe in the people who work here. They deserve stability and a future. After a tense silence, the board agreed. The process was swift, and soon, Tech Innovate was under my leadership once again. Standing before the combined teams of Phoenix Tech and Tech Innovate, I felt a sense of accomplishment and closure. The road had been long and fraught with challenges, but we had come out stronger on the other side. Thank you all for your hard work and dedication, I said, addressing the crowd. Together, we will continue to innovate and push the boundaries of technology. This is just the beginning of a new chapter. As the applause echoed through the room, I caught Emily's eye. She smiled, giving me a thumbs up. We had done it. Meanwhile, Jack faced the consequences of his actions. Legal proceedings were underway, and he lost everything he had schemed to gain. His fall from grace was swift and unforgiving. Looking out at my team, I realized that the journey had not only been about reclaiming my business, but also about rediscovering my own strength and resilience. The betrayal had tested me, but it had also forged me into a better leader and a stronger person. In the end, I had turned the betrayal into triumph, proving that integrity and perseverance can overcome even the darkest of challenges.